Hello to EarthStar Talk episode 11. This time it is for a young gentleman who asked me questions through Facebook for a very long time. And he has very intelligent questions. He wants to stay anonymous, so I just can say his name. First name is Chamara. And this is specifically for your help. I can answer most of your many questions. And again, as I always say, if you do not have questions, you cannot get answers, and with answers comes knowledge. So he sent me a little YouTube clip about a trailer which has to do about past lives and parallel lives, and that the eyes are the window to the soul, and how we can reconnect with people from other lifetimes and how we do recognize them. Well, first of all, yes, as I mentioned a lot of times, there's like a soul ensemble, like a theater ensemble of people where we, reincarnate over and over and over. So these souls are very familiar to us. Can we recognize them through the eyes? Yes, but not necessarily like it is said in the trailer through the iris, but actually through the light frequency coming through our eyes. Our physical eyes are connected to the pituitary gland, so the cellular gland here in our brain, the core center of our brain, which also is known as a third eye center. And that is connected to an invisible energy strand, which this is just the end product of the most physical, dense, three-dimensional form. But we are not just this form, we are, more ethereal forms as well. And when we connect through meditation with these higher forms, then we can also perceive ourselves in other dimensions, and we will get insight and can even see past lives or parallel lives, or also parallel existences. We will come to that in a little bit. You were asking me about whether every decision has consequences, and yes, it does. So coming back to your question about eyes in the window of the soul. So when you look into somebody's eyes, you can, and you do it unblinking, like I look at this now and do not blink. You might, when we do this for a while, see my face form change, because we are accessing the Akashic record, or the lower astral level where the Akashic record is residing. And then we can see who we were and where we know each other from, and the faces might change. I might become a male with a beard or whatnot. So the eyes then can see the energy forms which have been happening in other artificial theater play of lives. It's almost like you switch channel and see a different movie. Now, energetically, when we come across somebody, we recognize through their eyes, but not, again, in the movie they talked about the iris a lot, and that's the recognition point. Now it's a kind of a frequency, a wavelength, like a radio sender and receiver, and through the eyes you receive that particular wavelength. That's why in the olden days I didn't like to look people in the eyes, not because I was shy, well, I was shy too, but also because I could download a lot of information by looking into people's eyes. So I didn't like to do that, because I didn't like to prey on people's privacy and just download too much about their lives, because I instantly was going in and up this whole strand to retrieve information. It was just a inert habit or inert pathway I was knowing how to do, and I couldn't stop myself. So I rather didn't look at people's eyes. So when you meet somebody you have been incarnating with, you will have an instant feel, and that feel is radiated through the eyes, through the gateway from the third eye center. And sometimes past life can also leak into our lives here. That means it's like an overlap. And when we have an overlap, we instantly know, I cannot trust that person. That person stabbed us in the back in another life. Or I want to be married to that person again because we seem to have this connection. But oftentimes I have to say that this connection doesn't necessarily mean that you repeat a lifetime you had together. Maybe you're in this lifetime teach each other very strong learning lessons. So that connection you're feeling doesn't always mean it has to be that repetition of that life, that good life you had once. Because, and again, when we are in a theater play ensemble, we're not always playing the same, theater story. We are playing different stories. So here in our life too, we do different life stories with each other. Well, I hope it helps you to understand it's more about the energy, not so much about the iris. Then your next question was, can you stop mind chatter? Very good question, because we all have this chatting of the mind. First of all, as Dr. Joel Porter Taylor, the brain scientist, said, every trigger, any emotion triggered through the brain biochemistry lasts exactly 90 seconds. So every 90 seconds, you have the choice to feel something else or to do something else. So if you have mind chatter and you're realizing my mind is non-stopping, then you can say, stop. What do I want to think about? What do I want to focus on? You can bring yourself back. One good thing is to bring your mind back, especially in meditation, is Simran. Simran is the Sanskrit form of a repetition. So you have a word or you have a mantra and you repeat it. So your neural pathways are then learning about that repetition and it becomes second nature. So sometimes when people do a lot of Simran or this repetition of a mantra or a word, then it can become second nature. And that's where you can stop their mind chatter in meditation, where you go, should I cook this for lunch today? Or do I have to do that shopping to do still? Or should I prepare for that seminar right now? And instead of being still and listening to what is actually wanting to come down for you in information, or you going up and uplinking to something higher. I hope that makes sense. So Simran or repetition of a word, even if we do that inadvertently when we are mind scattered and we say, focus now, focus, come on, focus on this, get that done, focus. And that would be a way, this focus word gets us focused sooner or later. Next good question. Does every person who has a Kundalini experience and has the Kundalini fully awakened, is this person a psychic medium? Well, when we have the Kundalini energy rise up, it is, let's say, when a normal person who doesn't have the Kundalini awakened, and I think 99% of the populace has not, we are operating on certain antennas, nervous energy antennas. Nerves are like antennas too, that's what I mean, not nervous antennas. Nerves function as antennas. Sometimes I think faster than I can speak, sorry. So you have these energy perception like antennas. When you have Kundalini experience, because all your chakras are wide open, all your energy centers are wide open. Also, we don't have only these root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart chakra, soul chakra, third eye center, and crown chakra. We have several more side chakras here over the eyes, between the eyes and ears. We have central side chakras in our hands and in our feet. We have ethereal chakras for connecting us to higher dimensions. And all those are wide open, and because our energy system is like rip the doors wide open. Yeah, we invite energy in, but we're also bursting outward because of that energy conduit through the Kundalini experience. Yeah, and it's done with all nerve endings are on fire. That's why some people who had an inner Kundalini experience, they are so open up there that they're not very grounded and sometimes can be a little bit dysfunctional at the time of their first Kundalini experience. Later one can get used to it. And I would say that not everybody who has a Kundalini full awakened has to be a psychic medium or should work as a psychic medium. But when you have the doorways to the higher up worlds wide open, you can hinder to get information. So the question is not, are you a psychic medium? The question is, what do you do for it so that you channel the energies and use some of your energy antennas more wisely and more in differentiation? Because not everybody who is Kundalini awakened wants to constantly being bombarded with the spirit world, with crossed over loved ones and other energies or entities. I personally put a certain filter in. The filter is put in by saying, I am just only giving permission a certain frequency level to knock on my door and bother me. Yeah, not every spirit of the neighborhood, not every ghost from the neighborhood is allowed to knock on my door. That would be overwhelming and very counterproductive in a day. So I would say the question should be, what filter do we put in when we have a Kundalini experience? Yes, you could say you are becoming naturally reawakened to be a psychic medium, but you don't have to use it as such, and you can put filters in. I hope that answers that question. All right, next one. What does it mean when we have alignments of number 999, 777, 888, 666, and 555, and so on? And a lot is talked about 1111. When Solara Elan Ra, she wrote a book about 1111, the gateway door opening for the alignment and start up of awakening. That was a gateway where we were called to go back to the oneness, where we were called to open up ourselves. There was a trigger energy to open up ourselves to remembrance of the oneness. We are one. We are one with all that what we have been once, all in one, one and all. We are all that, it's all in us inside. And we are one of the smallest representation of that all in one. But we have it within ourselves and we are part of it too, all in one and all. So that was the synonym of the 1111 gateway. 1111 is also an energy of a mastery of self. Now we were triggered to master our one self in the physical form and also in the spiritual form to reconnect. That was the gateway. But I call it also the 1111, for example, the chameleon energy. People who have that in their energy field, they're reinventing themselves. Well, I decided to be this physical form, and now I decide to go beyond this physical form back into the all-knowingness as much as I can obtain that here in this limitational form. So I come into this physical form, but I also go beyond now this physical form again. That's also part of this 11 or 1111 gateway. Now, in general, when people look at these 112233, and there's a measure behind the madness, why you would see 11 has to do with yourself. Who am I? To do 22 or 22 has to do with your emotional makeup. Who am I emotionally? Mastering my emotions, mastering my intuition. 3 is about shifting tremendously That's why in the reconnection energy, they work on the frequency of 333. Absolute shift and multidimensional connections. Yeah. So alignment of shift is happening. Shift, shift, shift. 4 is the frequency of inspiration and new inspiration coming in. So if you see 4, 4 or 4, 4, 4, it often time has to do with new inspiration. You're aligned or you're aligning yourself with new inspiration. 5, 5, 5 has to do with communication skills. So either you're called to communicate within yourself and bring that to alignment, or you're aligned with the cosmic communication, or look at your cosmic communication, look at your communication skills. 6 has to do with love. And, 666 is oftentimes called the energy of the devil. So how can love and the devil have something in common? Well, it's the shadow side. Every light has a shadow if we are in duality. But the 666 also calls us to look into the energy of how can we explore love and how can we transform the shadow side of love, the contrary of love, which is, hate, anger, and frustration. And so 3 times 6 is 18, and 18 has something to do with authenticity, being authentic and truthful. And it's also called the energy of Christ consciousness, and has something to do with patience, being patient with yourself, but also be authentic. Be an authentic self. You are who you are. That's who you are. And authenticity is key. And if you're not authentic, Saturn energy will shake you up to see what you're made out of. Or you are high frequency already and trigger other people to the truth and see what they're made out of. So that's also entailed in this 666 energy. 7 alignments of 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, or 77, 77 has something to do with understand your patterns. Thought creates form, cause and effect. If this, then that. Always and never ever. Lead us all to these pattern understanding. So when you look at this 7, 7, check on these energies of what is not in alignment in my pattern. What patterns are not good for me? What patterns do I want to change? Then 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. Saturn, I mentioned it, they're not shaking us up. What is not in alignment? What is not truthful? 9 is about power. 10 is again bringing our person to the forefront. Can be multitude of ego multiplied. I've blown up ego, it's so great. Or can be like, I let my light shine brightly in humility because I understand who I am and that everybody's ultimately the same in oneness. Where we came all from the same place. So nobody's better than anybody else. And in that understanding, I let my light shine brightly to the 10s. So 10, 10, like be aligned and let your light shine brightly. Or maybe your ego is inflated, check on that. So 10 is like me and, standing strong, standing tall. And then it goes the same, 21, me and my emotion, 22, me and my mastery of emotions, 23, shifting my emotions and so on. So that gives you a tiny little excerpt about the number alignments when you see a certain alignment number of the same, what it can mean. And the longer the chain, like 1, 1, or 1, 1, 1, or 1, 1, 1, 1, or 5 times the 1 in a row, that's the acceleration of how strong the potency is of that alignment. Now, some people call that angel numbers. And again, we can say it's an angel number. What I would see is just a message from spirit saying, yes, you're in alignment, or look at your alignment, either way. I hope that makes sense. Then there was a question about the different religions and Shiva and Vishnu and all the different gods. Well, they have their, and Greek also their gods, and Celtics have gods. And what is the place of the gods? Well, the gods are in that sense occupying, like the angels, a certain frequency level. Yeah, when we talk about the seven heavens, there are different levels of existence of the oneness part. And the deeper and higher up we are, the more we can see. So I would describe the God levels are a certain frequency basin, which we personify as a God or entity. So I would say it's like an entity on a higher frequency level, which is associated with a certain morphogeneric field around them of a certain character. We have Zeus as a character, we have Odin as a character, we have Shiva as a character, we have so many characters, but if you look them around the stories, they're doing certain things and they are not all one. So they are not the source, they are representing an aspect of source on a higher dimensional level. I hope that answers that question. So if we invite those energies in, those entities in, we can connect with that morphogeneric field of this generic field of this entity. So it can, in the form of alignment, it can do something for us when we align ourselves with a certain god or goddess. Like a lot of these nature evoking druids, they align themselves with certain spirits of the wells, spirits of the trees, spirits of God and goddesses of nature, so that they could be all one in nature, and nature could serve them and they would serve nature. And it was like a giving and receiving, being in balance. So if nobody would call into the God essence of like the Shiva, Vishnu, or Hindu, which have been, worshipped for thousands and thousands of years. But if somebody would stop that morphogeneric field of this god or goddess would definitely be shrinking. Same with the pantheon of the Greek. They still exist, but because this worship isn't there anymore, they become less relevant in our connection to the higher beingness. And at this time of awakening, we are all called to understand that we shouldn't necessarily all worship that what is outside, but going within and to seeing the inner sun and stars and moon and traveling through there and going within, because that's where the truth really lays, where we go within and understanding, feeling, sensing, knowing that we are a tiny aspect of source on this planet, in this artificial reality. I know it's hardcore to wrap your mind around all that. So nothing against any entities. They have their place in the pantheons. But the challenge is to go so far in and up that you are understanding yourself of where you're coming from in regards to oneness, in regards to source, in regards to the beginning of all things. God's oneness source is breathing out and creating, and then breathing back in. What is that? Some people just call light and vibration. Some people call it essence, source. There are so many names for the same thing. So I would say, yes, you can have benefit of working with deities in a particular field. You can tap into the field. And like in Reiki, when we do Reiki, we tap into the field of Reiki, which is established through the meditation with everybody who works with the symbols tapping us right into that field of that level of healing. And the symbols work as a gateway, as a little wormhole through that frequency level of what represents Reiki, the ray of chi. And we are tapping into it with an artificial source. So my recommendation is always going within. Now, then he sent me a picture of a UFO and asking whether UFOs are real. And yes, they are a part of polarity. So there's a lot in different existences and higher realms. Some of them are UFOs and vehicles. Now we have physical unidentified flying objects, and then we have ethereal or light form unidentified flying objects. So like a light body of something. That's a question about dimensions. Some of these more physical vehicles can be easily hopping in between the fifth, fourth, and our here 3 dimensions. So they come in and out of our reality, so to speak, because by shifting frequency, everything is frequency. The universe, our bodies, a thought, everything is swimming in atoms, everything is energy waves. And when you understand it that way, the faster the wave, the higher the frequency. Like dogs, to give an example, can hear frequencies, acoustic frequency levels, which we as humans with our ear cannot hear. Does it mean they do not exist because we cannot hear them? No, dogs can hear them. We can't, but they can. So the same with other frequency levels. We might not be able to see. Not everybody can see auras. Does it mean an electromagnetic field or an aura doesn't exist? No, it exists. So there are UFOs, unidentified flying objects, which can pop in and out of our reality and can be accelerating to a speed which we can fathom right now, and therefore go faster than light and such things. And yes, we will be able to build these things, and have actually, I think, built these things already on this planet. So he refers to Edgar Casey saying that the coastlines of many lands will go down. That will be battlefields in the ocean, sea, space, lands. Portions of New York will disappear. So ultimately, all that disaster energy is about the coastlines. Some lakes will be empty, other lakes will be created. I mean, Chamara, you're talking here about the earth shift. And yes, the earth is shifting constantly. And we have not even understood all these telemarketers. And they have not understood these earth changes have been going on this planet for millions of years. There were civilizations here, and if earth changes would go so strong that we would let the oceans come back up, and we would see, residue of civilizations and also many layers of our earth crust. When I do meditation, I sometimes check out things and want to see where was this civilization or what is left over. So I go in my ethereal or ether body, second body, and check out. So I've seen saber-tooth skulls, I've seen crystal skulls in some kivas, I've seen leftover things from Lemuria and Mu and Atlantis, where it has been and what is still there physically to this day. And, everything's interconnected. So it's like you have a physical residue of a civilization, and then you have an energy residue, and then you have the actual, because time and space doesn't really exist, you can actually tap on that through the physical leftover to what once was. In Germany, I did a lot of seminars where we went to ruins, churches or old castles, Burgen, old, battlegrounds, all that. And we lay our head on one of these leftover stones of these castles or cathedrals or churches or whatnot. and we're going into a deep trance, and let our mind be flooded with the leftover energies, which are the stones were linked to, because stones are crystalline. Yeah, they have like a computer in energy resonance, and with that energy resonance, they absorbed the history of what has been happening there. So the stones were then a conduit where we were tuning into the time and space matrix when these battles, or when these happenings at the church, or when these happenings at that castle were happening in time and space then. So we were using the stone as a conduit to traveling into that. And in the beginning, we were just, in the first layer, we were just seeing where the stone had been programmed into because of their happening, you know, like a computer. But then we also were going further into the observation mode of time and space. So yes, I have gone also into the future, and I've seen Earth changes. First of all, we have to understand Earth is wobbling. So as the Earth is not completely round, in the Earth wobble, which is more like an egg, there will be a natural form of changes occurring on this planet. I'm thinking right now on the weather patterns. So we experience a lot of weather pattern changes, but and then we had ice ages, and now we're, you know, it's getting warmer. We are actually at the end, I believe, of an ice age, going warmer, and so the ices will melt, and then yes, certain things will be underwater, and over thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, that will change then again to cooler, and then it will begin warmer, and then again cooler, and yes, we still have the pressure of the the Earth plates pushing against each other. So there will be definitely constant Earth changes. I think we will learn to build more cities on the water, underwater, along the lines. I've seen a lot of those in the future. Yes, there will be tidal waves when certain ice masses are melting. We had one incident where ice shelf was loosening up from the North Pole in the size of Manhattan, but it then got refrozen. But it could have threatened Hawaii, for example, but it didn't yet. Timelines are really fluid. So yes, it's coming. Can you ask me when exactly it's coming? No. Do we see Earth's level, water levels rising on Earth? Absolutely, yes. Slowly and steadily, it will all rise because the ice caps are melting. And so people will be more drawn inland. And because of the Earth tilting, yeah, it could come to a flipping point. We have already the scenario that the pilots have to adjust their north node before the flights, because the magnetic north has been shifting too. So as the Earth's magnetic field is shifting, that will contribute to Earth changes. I hope that answers the question. Do we have to be absolutely fearful? No, we should be mindful. We should be responsible to not make it worse. But yes, Earth changes were coming up slowly and steadily. It's not going to be overnight, but we can see already Earth level water levels rising. So water levels rising. Powers that be about destruction and drama and strife and a lot of dramas happening, pandemics and outbreaks and so on. Yes, well, we had one of a pandemic right now, and there were others to follow. And we can say this is all very, very bad. And we can look our focus on the bag and say, what a drama on this planet. Well, there's always been drama on this planet. This planet is designed to be the planet of plurality. Should we destroy our planet in the paths of our experiences? No, that would be too sad. We have such a variety on plant life and animal life and human life, varieties on this planet. Is just fascinating. And that's why we are so envied in the galaxy of our richness on this planetary form and our DNA on this planetary form. So what a DNA bank we are here on this planet. I mean, it's fascinating. Look at the variety of what we have. It would be totally sad if it would be blown all to pieces by somebody's greed or lust for more power. Can it happen? Yes. Will it happen? I do not know. Because when we are diving here into this 3D world, we're putting blinkers on to experience and have a limited experience. Like, could you focus on one story, let's say Shakespeare's Summer Night's Dream when you're in a theater, while also watching 10, 15 different other stories in theaters or movies? If you watch 15, 20 movies, can you be as immersed in that movie as if you watch one movie and focusing on one movie? No. And that's why we chose to have this limited experience, to be immersed in this experience of duality, of good and bad, of the dramas. And it's similar to, why do actors even want to be an actor? They want to explore and experience how it is to be in these different roles. And in these different roles, we explore a part of God on this planet, a part of God in duality, a part of God of forgiveness or power or powerlessness, or, you know, all these aspects of a whole, plus and minus, yeah, together make zero. I mean, it cancels each other out. So we are just experience the one or the other side to ultimately experience both, because in all the different past life, we have good and bad traits, and we experience both sides. I always say, if you want to be killed, or have an experience, or if you want to be a killer, you might have to be killed. If you want to be famous, you have to be non-famous. If you want to be rich, you might have to be poor. So there's always a balance. There's always a cause and effect balance in the greater scheme of things. And when we have all these drama experience, I mean, how many wars did we have? Will it be the last war, like the Second World War? No, there will be way more wars coming over and over and over, and way more destruction, and new civilizations will arise, then other civilizations will go down. Everything's blooming and decaying, and blooming and decaying. There is a natural cycle of things. So should we be concerned about this? Yes and no at the same time. Yes, we should be concerned about our attitude to these happenings. Do we let ourselves be wrapped up in the drama, or do we be in the drama but not of the drama? Can we differentiate ourselves from these happenings and say, wow, this is really dramatic, but do I have to buy into it? Do I have to be into it? Of course, when you're, deadly sick, you are totally into it. And then the question is, how do I get myself out of it? If I do even want to get out of it. Or, if somebody incarnates and wants to be a warrior, and tries out how it is to be a warrior, fighting for the truth, fighting for something worthwhile fighting for, that warrior wouldn't be needed in a time of peace. So a lot of warrior spirits will come in time of, drama coming up. But then there's also the balance again. So we will have also a lot of children coming in who are peacemakers, children who are coming in to remind us of the oneness, to not get too wrapped up into the drama. So when I look here at the dramas and the strifes, yes, there will always be strife. There will always be drama. Will there always be everlasting peace on earth? No. Even the prophesied peace on earth for 1,000 years is only 1,000 years, and then we have the next drama going on. Look, in the Mayan calendar, it was talked about the Earth ends in 2012, right? And then it didn't, because a new cycle, a new whole paradigm cycle was starting in the Mayan calendar. And we have Mayan calendar dates today still. So the Earth didn't dissolve itself just because a cycle was ending. So understand it more as a way of cycle and ask yourself, why did I allow myself to be born in this cycle, in this moment? What did my soul get out of this? What did I want to learn by incarnating now? That's the question, which is really interesting. Why did I decide to do this now? Why did I come here now? All right. And then there is about coronavirus. I don't want to go into that. I mean, we know there's only one side of storytelling on the internet, especially on YouTube. So we do not want to get censored by having a non-conformity opinion about it. But I believe it is created, and I believe it is created for a purpose, and I believe that this virus was weaponized. Now, Philadelphia experiment, that is a very interesting thing. So the government did experiments about accelerating vibration to an extent that we could transport things from one place to another. And there are two outstanding experiments, if you want to read up on them, that are the Montauk experiment and the Philadelphia experiment. So both of them have to do with an acceleration of vibration and transporting one thing to another. The downfall was that by bringing things back into the atomic structure of a three-dimensional existence, the atoms were not differentiated. So certain limbs were fused with metal, or so what did not get and what scrapped these projects was that the differentiation of what we would see in the movies in Star Trek, Star Wars, beam me up, Scotty, this beaming particles from here to here. I think our scientists just getting there. They're understanding how it should work, but they haven't learned yet the differentiation of how can we bring back the matrix without mixing up the atomic structures and keep the matrix of the person or object separate and intact. But I think we are going to get there. So it is going to happen sooner or later. Then he refers to a reading Edgar Cayce gave in April 15, 1932, where it talks about thousands of years of peace, where Christ returns to earth. And he asked, please explain what it means when Jesus, will walk and talk with men of every clime. Does this mean he will appear to many at once or appear to various people during a long period? As given for 1,000 years, will he talk with men of every clime? Then what does that mean? Very interesting question. And I believe it means the following. When we awaken and opening up to the truth of who we really are, eternal soul, then we have that communion to spirit and to the essence of spirit, to the essence of what Jesus is. Jesus was a soul-aware being who knew how this matrix of this existence worked, who could work it, who could bring people back to life, because he knew how to get the soul back into the body where the soul went, and what he needed to do to reach out with his spirit to bring the soul back into the body so that the person could continue this experience. And as a son, or also their daughters of God incarnate, meaning the certain awareness level and the power which comes with it to bring so much of the divine in here that you could, for example, perform certain miracles. But even though it's not about the miracles, most masters, awakened masters, they wouldn't even do that because it's really meaningless to be like using the gifts like a parlor game. But he get a lot of followers for it. And so he used the almost parlor game scenario to awaken the people, like, look up, see what is possible, see what's possible for you too. If you understand the cause and effect, and if you understand that you are beyond, more than that, that when you believe into the one light source, the God, what he refers to, my father, could have been my mother. Our language is not really equipped to say all oneness, my all in one, my source. I am a part of the source. So when Jesus will walk the earth, I do not perceive it so much as a person incarnate. I perceive it more as we are all able to understand the concept in the 1,000 years that we are eternal soul, and we are coming from a higher awareness level, and there we can communicate with higher beings, all of us. And so every person will do that. And we are not in the 1,000 years of peace yet. So we are going through the strife. And I think in this strife, in this next 10 years, I talked in one of the videos about this 2020 to 2030 cycle. Like, we go through our fear cycle till 2030. We should have come out the other end to understand that we are self-responsible, self-sufficient, self-reliant, no more blame, shame game. We create our reality. So what reality are you creating right now? And in 2030, you can then shift up in your reality or fall down in your reality and fall down into more despair and maybe even hop off the planet. But 2030 is a major shift year. And 2040 will be a major year of inspiration and creativity and creating a new design. And 2050 will be a year where we have these utmost communication skills. What communication skills could there be? Communication skills with each other, maybe more telepathy. Telepathy could be, so normal by then that we don't need speech so much. Or communication with the divine design. Communication going beyond our 3D matrix and a 4th dimensional matrix of reality. And then the unconditional love development in 2060. And then cause and effect, understanding the greater paradigm in 2070. And to understand the ultimate truth in 2080. And understanding the nature of power. What does power really mean? I think we'll be way going away from power means having a lot of money, by power being something completely different, which we cannot really understand that. What is the true power? The power is just in a moment. You can feel very powerful and eternal in a moment. It can be very powerful. So anyway, coming back to your question here, that's what I believe that means, that Jesus and God walks back on earth. Oh, that's a reminder. When I did a lot of healing work, I was so out of my body when I did the healing work and was a conduit for that healing higher frequencies, that I sometimes opened my eyes, looked around, and my whole room was aflame. I had a green plant in the corner of my healing room. And again, when you do a lot of healing work, you accelerate the energy in that room. So when I was opening my eyes and I saw that green plant in flames, and it dawned on me like, oh, that's the burning bush. That's what it is. Higher frequency comes down, anchors itself into something like plant life or a bush, a tree, this, that, because, plants have good roots. So they are good, a grounding rod for higher frequency levels. And so this being, which was using that plant, assisted me in the healing. And it was like a huge flame around and in that plant. And one like arm or tongue of the flame was reaching into me while I doing the healing work with my hands. That's also something which can be more common in the future. So then Antarctica hottest day, what it means that the poles melt. I talked about that already. Yes, we can have tidal waves. Yes, we can have major shifts. Yes, we can have water coming up and other areas dry up. But I think that also has to do with the tilting of the earth. Now, when you have a ball, it rolls really smoothly. But if you have an egg and the earth is more like an egg, it wobbles, and our earth wobbles. And if you think it through, what does that mean? I think it will explain a lot about earth changes too, and not climate warming only. Whether I'm going to fly to Japan at one time, yes, I've had many invitations to Japan because I'm working with a lot of Japanese clients, but at this moment of time, I have a son at high school, and until he's not done, I perceive it's my mother's duties to be there for him, and then I will do my talks all over the world after that journey. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about multidimensional alien lives? Yes. That is a wide aspect. I can just tell for my own self. I remember this life, physical body, 3D. I remember many lifetimes in 3D, male, female. I remember lifetimes as animals in 3D. I remember lifetimes where I was like a spirit, almost like a nature spirit. 4D, I could make myself visible to humans or not. I remember should be something like what the Hopis called kachinas, and having actually interaction with the Hopis of the old days was part of my incarnation. And it still is, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to tap into that existence in a deep trance state. Somebody put me in and bam, there it was. And at that time, here in 3D, I had never heard about kachinas. That was a totally different word. And maybe I'm not supposed to talk too much about that because it could be perceived as ego. So my voice is giving a little bit out like, warning, don't go there. But it's a truth and a fact. I was in a deep trance and tuned into that lifetime where I was addressed as a kachina. And it is not only about weather, believe me, there's way more to that. It would go more like an energy field deity kind of thing, like I talked with Shiva. And again, I do not want to go against anybody's religion. I mean, every religion is valid for its purpose, and it helps you to go through the path of oneness, through that doorway of that God or goddess. That's wonderful. So I don't judge or want to diminish any kind of religion. Every religion has its purpose for what it's made for. So then I remember lifetimes with many, with the Arcturians. I was at them for a short little while, Andromeda, then certain existence in different nebulas where we didn't have physical forms. When I say remember, it's like I can access the information. Is it really remembrance, or is it tuning in, dialing in the radio frequency? I think that's what it's more about. Instead of the word remembering is a little bit like artificial timeline, remember something what was, but ultimately it still is. So yes, that's multidimensional. Even though I'm sitting here being this, I am at the same time being this and this and this and this and this and so many other things all at the same time. And I remember existences where I didn't have a physical form, but more like a light body, almost like white crystalline light. And that was the form I experienced in Lyra. And these light bodies can have different shades. For example, if you look at a stone aqua ore, it's white, titanium plated, and it gives this conglomerate of shimmering like a rainbow, but the base color is white. But then we have also the mystical topaz, and the mystical topaz is a topaz with also titanium plating, and it's like purples, greens, blues, magentas, and more like my background here. And that would be the frequency I experienced on the Pleiades. And the atmosphere was like that. And even in the Pleiades, you have, certain more bodily forms, but then there are also existences of higher frequency beings. So everything has a hierarchy where it can go further and higher up. But if we talk about timelines and multidimensional, everything is happening at the same time. This is just an artificial thing. Like if we go into movies and we watch the movie and we are so engrossed in the movie and we are like, wow, we are right there with the actors in that scenario. But doesn't mean while we are just in the perception of the movie that the theater is not existent, that the city, the movie theater is not existent, that the city and the state and the country and the globe and the universe, this movie theater is existent, doesn't exist. It all exists at the same time, even though we don't have the focus on. That's the best explanation I can give to you at this time. So you were asking me about the alien life, and I told you a little bit about the Antari and the Turian and Pleiadians and Lyrans and so on. So again, here, that's what I remember and can tap into. Can I tap into that just like a snip of the finger? Not necessarily, because some of the vibrations are so high up then that it takes me utmost relaxation and a deep trance kind of state to exert it all. Some people can open themselves like a gateway and channel constantly, and this channel and that channel and that channel. That depends on the purpose. If you are that and that's your purpose and you are the open gateway, like also Jane Roberts was a total gateway for the entity SES, and they had a contract and agreement, and so she channeled that SES material, and that was the job description for this body. And SES took advantage of that, and they had a mutual agreement. And so soon after everything was done, and she was out of body and had her own experience and wrote her own books, in addition to the SES Speak books, like for example, the Trilogy of Oversoul 7, a very recommended read, repeat, Jane Roberts' Trilogy of Oversoul 7 will explain a little bit of what I tried to explain here, the multidimensionality of things. So a very good read and fairly easily written. It's written of a woman with a 3D mind, while the SES material is more written from an entity on a higher fourth, fifth dimensional level, brought down to our wording. So it's very left-right analytical, but multi-complex to understand. So the SES material, you can only read one sentence at a time, while the material of Jane Roberts, you can read a whole chapter and digest it more easily. Are they advanced flying ships, light bodies? Well, that defines the scenario about what is advanced. What a lot of entities on fourth and fifth dimension do not have and envy us in human form with this experience of a soul or conscious connection to their source, that we have the possibility through the heart, mind, soul connection, in that alignment, are able to open the gateway of existence of light so strongly that we can have a true glimpse of source. While some of these other, maybe more technically advanced beings are more simply knitted. Now they have a more simpler structure. They might have a lot of technical knowledge about how to manipulate 3 to 4 to 5th dimensional reality matrix. But they cannot go beyond that. While we can, like this, excuse me, elevator effect, we can go way up high and come back way down 3-dimensional. So when you are meditating, you can go way high up, which some of these beings on a supposedly higher dimension level, 4th, 5th, maybe 6th dimension, cannot necessarily do, because they are designed. Some of these beings are designed for a purpose, like in angels are having a certain job description on a certain energy frequency level, like the deities, like the gods and goddesses. And so these entities might have been created by a higher dimensional being for a certain purpose. So again, here we have a chain reaction of levels. But the soul awareness of a human can be very unique, extraordinary, where we can be when we are conscious that there is an elevator and that we can go into the elevator and go high up. We can achieve tremendous knowledge, but it might not all be technical knowledge, but it might be esoteric knowledge. That it can be a very powerful tool. But then again, there is the question of power. What is power? Is technical things power? Or is emotional knowledge power, wisdom power? Or is God essence, the source knowledge power? What is power? There is, again, one question leads to another question. So I understand. So what do you remember about flying ships and light bodies? Yes, I've been on several ships. I've been on ships in a body which was like a gray body, but that was more for me a tuning in with my light body, tuning in how it would be to be one of the grays, how it would be to one of those, how would it be to one of those. When we have our light body, we can tune in to many existences without having to live it to the fullest extent, birth to death, so to speak, or existence to end of that existence. We can tune into things and say, okay, then that don't need to have this experience to the fullest extent. Which brings me to a thing about when kids, for example, a woman has either an abortion or a woman loses a child. Sometimes the child stays into the vicinity on the 4th dimension, like next door to our 3rd dimension, and evolves there too with the morphogenetic field of the family energy, which transcends just the 3D also into 4D, 5D. It's like a multidimensional thing too. Like we are connected, I said it in one of the last videos, we are connected multidimensionality wise with our family strand of 7 generations, family existences, and they're still leaking into us today. So that being, that soul, which didn't get to connect into a 3-dimensional body, still can have a 4th dimensional body and can influence our life and can interact with us that well. So the same with the crystalline body. Yes, I can go into the crystalline body and can look through my crystalline perception there. And I do that sometimes for, I almost want to say, recreational purpose. When this life here in 3 dimension gets too heavy, like you talked about all the wars and all the desperation and all the machinations of war machines and of warmongering and power mongering, what's going on. It's a very heavy energy. So I do exercise to get away from that heavy energy. And I think I want to do one of those exercises and present them to you in one of my next, maybe it's number 12, which is the energy of being of service. Maybe it will be a service video for meditation and to go back into the crystalline body. I have already some of those on my other channel, Claudia Granger, which more the psychic channel, and also talk about crystals there and so on. This is supposed to be the awakening channel, but ultimately everything goes hand in hand. So some DNA activation meditations you will find in Claudia Granger, that channel there. And I might put that down there. And yes, I will cross-reference things. So some of the videos here on EarthStar, you will find over there as well, because some of the followers there want to see those too. Did I have existences on Earth-like planets? Yes, Earth-like, yes, but not in this variation of vastness of DNA. To me, this planet is a DNA library, like a culmination of experiments of what can be created in human life, in plant life, in animal life. And the co-creators of this existence who played God through this creation on our planet. And you might have come across some of these, Gideons say they have created here, Lemurians say they have created here, and they came from higher dimensions. Neurons have seeded together planetary regions here in galaxies. The entirety seeded some of the neurons so they could do this work. So it's again a hierarchy thing of who seeds what, who creates what. Have I personally so far been on anything like Earth with its multitude of beauty and multitude of riches? No, I have been on planets where there were different atmospheres and different minerals and different beauties, but there was almost like a category of beauty. I remember wonderful water worlds with tremendous beauty and riches of almost like sea life, or planets with tremendous crystalline life. But having it all here in one, no, our Earth is unique. Have I been incarnated with reptilians? No, but I have a galactic friend, and he came to me and explained to me about these different UFO ships. Some of them are metal, some of them are hybrid between metal and living organism. I know it's hard to wrap our mind around that, but it exists. And so he explained to me the fundamental form of the hexagonal shapes and the octagonal shapes, and how shapes are a building block of the universe, and that we go from shapelessness to more shape and denser shape and so on. And one of the starships he was on was a hybrid of a metallic being almost, which expanded or contracted itself according to the density of the dimension. And it did it with the hexagonal shape going wider or smaller, because the hexagonal shape and octagonal shape, especially the octagonal shape, is a very durable form. So it had, in that spaceship, there was a lot of hexagonal and octagonal shapes, and we see some of that structural things, shapes like in beehives. When we look at it, a lot of insects work with these kind of structures. Now, this being looked to me like a mixture of a lion and a reptile almost, and had very strong eye ridges, and a nose like almost like a lion, but not hairy, more scaly, and a certain headdress, almost like the Egyptian, or when you looked at this movie Stargate, and they have these helmet. There's a human inside, but they have this helmet. He looked one of those, but not that it was a helmet, it was his face. And he told me that a lot of the Egyptian styles and Egyptian perceptions about how gods looked, or also the Stargate thing, came actually from his dimension of existence. And I drew him at one time, and my meditation group freaked out because when I drew him, this energy came out, and it's almost like he was standing in the room. So the drawing became like a gateway to his dimension, and it freaked people out. They were a little bit uncomfortable about the intensity of this being. So was it purely reptilian, and what we understand was a reptilian? No, but it had what I would say, a mixture of that. But it was very powerful to me in explaining how the universe works with the building blocks. And he never told me exactly where he was coming from, only that we were very familiar and that we had incarnations together. At that time, I was so blown away that I didn't ask what dimension and what existence. But, I should actually go back in time and space to that momentum when he stepped out in the rift of time in space and contacted me, and was so visible that I could draw him very clearly. By the way, in my many movings, that piece of paper got lost, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have demonstrated you and showed it to you. So yes, one can reincarnate not only on Earth, but one incarnates in many dimensions, many existences, many planets. Yes. Illuminati. Well, that's a big story on its own, and I have been here on for quite some time, so I don't want to bore the audience much more for the time being. But Chamara, I thank you very much, and we will talk more about third dimension, fourth dimension, and so on, and thought about manifestation and the universe and its existence. And next time we will talk about the angels, and can angels heal us? That will go right back into the guardian angels nighttime worker scenario, and that will tie into that. And there will be a part 2 of the guardian angel nighttime workers. Maybe that will be part of next week's show. So I hope you got some information, Chamara. Thank you for your wonderful questions. Keep the questions coming now. I will send you the link on Facebook so that you can have this, and you are, more than welcome to give comments or ask further questions down below. Everybody's invited to ask questions. I am delighted to answer them as far as I can in this 3-dimension body. So for today, I bid you farewell. Till next time, your Claudia Granger with EarthStar Talk episode 10. Bye-bye.